Elon Musk just tweeted that Tesla won't accept Bitcoin anymore for its environmental issues. And Bitcoin plunges 12%. So Elon Musk did not know about Bitcoin energy use 3 to 4 months ago when he bought it for Tesla. This is manipulating the markets in my opinion. Only Musk is allowed to manipulate with impunity. Everything Elon Musk says is to manipulate prices of shares of Tesla and the price of Bitcoin. He does it with impunity while the SEC does nothing, whereas if average Joe did it, they would go to jail. Musk probably sold off most of his Bitcoin holdings he bought a few months ago at the highs. Now he wants to buy again at a lower price, so he opens up his mouth. Several crypto miners are using renewable energy, but if you think that Tesla is green energy, try disposing or recycling Tesla batteries. People are more manipulated than the markets. Institutions will sell in waves. First wave happened. Then, they wait for people to buy the dip so their next lot can be sold for a higher price. Rinse and repeat. They don't want it to sell all at once. They need to sap as many retail investors into this as possible to maximize their sale value. Elon Musk knows he has the power to kill crypto, and he is deciding if it's dead or a profitable dip. Bitcoin is pure speculation and has no correlation to anything except hype. Bitcoin is challenging all laws of nature. It will end badly, I assure you. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to also hit the notification bell. Thank you. The Fed has destroyed the economy and the markets by rigging interest rates and printing trillion upon trillion of fiat debt notes. This reminds me of the 2010 to 2013 period in the markets when nothing made sense as to the non-stop daily melt-up in the markets without any down days virtually. No one could understand it at the time, yet the markets marched higher almost daily like a programmed matrix. In hindsight, it was caused by the Fed's QE stimulus that kept plowing billions and billions and trillions of dollars into the economy, and that was why funds kept buying and buying and buying stocks during that time when the news and data didn't support it. Today it feels like the exact same thing, which if this is true then we're looking at 1 to 2 years of a boring, always melting up, never bottoming down market where the only options one has is to purchase very frothy levels that will get frothier, or sit out for years as everything gets more expensive and cash loses its value. The difference this time is stimulus overload, as opposed to too small stimulus in 2010, which will cause the Fed to stop the QE pumping. The Fed will always be overshoot or undershoot. This time a large overshoot is forming. The US has way too much debt to pay this high yield year by year. If this yield won't come down, the US will have difficulties to pay the yearly yield on debt paper, and I am not even talking about paying back the debt itself, that is still another issue. The US yield is way too high. With all the trillions of new printed debt, the US comes in a painful situation. The total debt level is so high that any figure above 150% really hurts the economy. All the new debt must also be paid back one day. The US rate is at 160% now, Germany at -0.30%, negative rate, Germany receives money. Otherwise said, with a spread of almost 2% between these two nations, the market is much more confident in Germany than in the US to get the debt paid back. First, they keep interest rates artificially low at crisis level 0 for over a decade while mercilessly QE infinity pumping the stock markets to higher highs year after year. Second, watch as what remains of the middle class are forced into equities by said zero interest rates. Lastly, crash the stock market and destroy what remains of the middle class, creating a permanent neo-colonial feudal serf society while using separate media to pit Americans against each other, not the corporate state oligarchs responsible. It's basic class warfare 101 people. Inflation is here. The wheels are coming off the bus and it's heading straight towards a bubble with no control. The Fed balance sheet is above 100 trillion, your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren and their prior generations have all been robbed. The wealth transfer has been completed. If you want to continue on with your slave labor life, go for it. It won't change anything, it's too late. Rates at zero. Print an additional 40% of the money that was in circulation pre-pandemic. Allow and encourage massive speculative buying of all asset classes. Inflation is bad and getting rapidly worse, and the Fed refuses to raise rates. What can go wrong? The national debt is now at $28.1 trillion with a $1.9 trillion spending law just passed by Congress and a bill for another $3 to $4 trillion for infrastructure in the works. In 2020 the deficit was over $3 trillion. It could be $5 to $6 trillion more in 2021. Even if the Fed buys up record Treasury securities, the private-held debt will continue to rise. Gasoline prices have risen about 33% this year already and are expected to continue upward. Housing prices are going through the roof. With real unemployment U6 at 11.6%, it is not a good economy. I believe inflation will increase over the next few years as America swims in an ocean of debt. There's far too much cash injected into the economy, and the Fed has already said it's keeping prime at a ridiculously low rate into the future. Inflation has already begun. We sure seeing gasoline prices higher already, and next will be mortgage and consumers' loans rates are higher, rental for the poor skyrocket. Remember, the government does not use food and gas prices in their inflation calculations. Grocery prices are moving up. Can't afford beef on Social Security. Chevron regular gas prices that were $1.19 in late December reached $1.76 today, a 48% increase, and we haven't even seen price increases from the grounded ship in the Suez yet. Gas prices elsewhere in the nation are already well over $3 and more. If the Middle East cuts production under this new administration, we'll see gas lines again. The more debt they print, the more debt needs to be printed to pay the more debt they printed before. It is a zero-sum game. The interest on the debt money is never created, so there is a scramble to get a big enough share of the debt to pay your debt and interest. The problem is there are then those left short, no matter how hard they worked or how well they planned. As the debt ball gets bigger, the interest ball gets bigger. Soon you have to print an enormous amount of debt money just so the interest is covered. At some point, the amount of debt money necessary to pay the interest is enough to break the system. We are close. The good news is we will all be millionaires soon. The bad news is Zimbabwe is full of trillionaires. The total national debt, including unfunded liabilities, must be well over $30 trillion. This administration is going to raise taxes on corporations and families making more than $400,000. The corporations will not pay the tax increase or increased cost of goods to manufacture, we will in inflated pricing. China has effectively cut shipments of computer chips into the US. At least 2 auto manufacturing plants have had to shut down. Car prices, when they are available, will be higher. China may have cut back computer production also, but I haven't seen anything on that yet. If they do, computer prices will be hiked. Small and mid-sized businesses that have to deal with higher federal taxation and/or higher cost of goods from corporations that are being taxed higher will have a hard time staying alive, and those that remain will have to raise prices to survive. There will be an increase in personal and corporate bankruptcies. As in the high-tax 70s, federal government income will be reduced, and they are likely to broaden and deepen tax increases because that's all politicians who never signed the front of employee paychecks know how to do. My opinion is that with what's being done at the federal level now, we are going to repeat the Carter years and see double-digit inflation, high taxes, high unemployment, and the economists worth a salt will resurrect the misery index. Biden announced an economic stimulus bill called the American Rescue Plan on January 14, with a total plan of $1.9 trillion. $400 billion will be used to fight the epidemic, $1 trillion for financial assistance to American families, $440 billion to provide assistance to small businesses, state and local governments. The weekly additional unemployment benefit is increased to $400 $30 billion in assistance to families who have difficulty paying rent and utilities. Currently, the US government budget deficit reached $3.13 trillion, the highest level since World War II. The total federal debt of the United States has exceeded $27 trillion. The Fed's balance sheet also exceeded $7.4 trillion. The US government lies to the American people as to what the real consumer price inflation rate is. They have done this since the 1980s. To get anywhere close to meaningful statistics, one must seek out alternative metrics. One such entity that has provided as accurate information as anyone is ShadowStats. They show inflation as of December 2020 at about 9.5%. It looks like it will annualize around 10% in the first quarter. The Bureau of Labor Statistics likes to ignore things like food and energy, core CPI, which is obviously absurd. With food and energy in the mix, oil prices are up, back to $60 a barrel. Brent is up 6% in a week. Petrol prices are up 9% since last month. Diesel has risen for the 13th week in a row, up 14% since November. Corn prices are up over 25% since this time last year. Sugar just hit a 4-year high, up about 25% over last year. And this is just the beginning. Add to that the profligate printing of further stimulus and, realistically, you're looking at somewhere between an actual inflation rate of 12 to 15%. That is getting scary. Of course, the government does not want anyone to know the real inflation rate, because it would expose what they are doing, destroying the American dollar. This is why we will be seeing the Great Reset here this year, most likely, that will see our fiat dollar currency replaced, as the Federal Reserve and our grossly irresponsible government is at an end to know how to manage this. There are two types of dollars. Those that we have to earn and those that they print. It just goes to show that the dollar has no value once people earn and save it. They simply debase it by printing in perpetuity. All the more reason to diversify into items of intrinsic value. There has to be a consequence, at some point, to all this money printing. Sounds like something cyclical is happening. More money printing requires even more money printing, requiring even more money printing, to ultimately buy stock ETFs. The machine is starting to eat itself. It's a bit like, for example, if you love eating steak and you can't get any, so you cut off your own leg to have some sirloin. How long can that last? It cannot last, especially not in US dollar. Other countries got away with it, but the US dollar cannot behave like this. The USA is fast turning into Argentina basically. All these bailouts and programs require new treasuries to be issued, not to mention covering old treasuries that are expiring, and the market simply cannot support that many treasuries hitting the decks, especially at 0% interest coupon. So, in theory, in a real market, what should happen is the bond prices drop as the selling hits the tape, and the implied interest rate is increased. To stop that happening, the Fed is buying all the treasuries by adding them to its own balance sheet. So there is no market then, it's all fake. The Fed will eventually blow up the US dollar, and we'll all be on Bitcoin. Maybe that's the idea, or maybe they just screwed up really badly. Strange things have happened. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.